Clinton continues to push aggressively for more gun control in the country, and she is making promises that if she is elected President of the United States, she would take certain executive action to ensure that gun regulations become law in the U.S. Now, just to give you an example of what she's pushing for, she would like universal background checks for anyone who's looking to purchase a gun. She's in favor of rolling back legal immunity for the gun industry, meaning that if something goes wrong with a gun, that gun manufacturer is no longer going to be immune from a lawsuit. That's what that means.
No. That's not what that means. What it means is that when people criminally misuse a gun to harm somebody else, the gun manufacturer can't be sued. Just like you wouldn't sue Craftsman when I get hit over the head with a wrench. The idea that they're immune from being sued over functional issues is not true.
And also legislation to keep firearms out of the hands of domestic abusers.
We already have that.
Now, under Clinton's plan, background checks would be expanded to close loopholes for private sales at gun shows and online. Clinton, if elected president, would use executive action to deem any individual selling a significant number of firearms in the business in order to hold private sellers to the same rules as gun retailers. Another thing that she's planning on doing, which I think is the most common sense legislation imaginable, she wants to close certain loopholes when it comes to background checks. One of them was actually taken advantage of by the Charleston shooter. Okay, so she also proposed closing the so-called Charleston loophole, a reference to the shooting in June at a historically black church in Charleston, South Carolina, in which the gunman was able to purchase a gun despite having a criminal record because of a background check. Because if a background check takes longer than 72 hours, a gun dealer can just sell the weapon without the completed check.
That's actually not a loophole, it's a check against the FBI. You see, without that 3-day limit, they can come in and say, well, you know what? We're going to spend 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe a month processing background checks because we don't want people owning a gun.
So, let me give you an example of the second point there that Hillary Clinton's making. So, a family whose daughter was killed in the Aurora, Colorado shootings sued the people who sold the weapons, okay, saying, hey, you should have done a better background check on the guy. If you had, James Holmes is clearly mentally ill.
Since when do gun manufacturing companies like Winchester have access to the NICS, let alone the responsibility to conduct background checks, Cenk? Please, tell me.
And you shouldn't have sold them all of that weapon, all that ammunition, all different weapons, etc., including the armor-piercing bullets that actually were so powerful they went through the movie theater seats, and after going through the seat, hit their daughter in the head, and as they described it, splattered her brains all over.
It's a political myth that you need to have an armor-piercing bullet to push through your seats. They're traditionally made out of a thin layer of plastic, iron, steel, aluminum, tin, or wood. Any one of these rounds could have penetrated one of those seats and went through someone else. Any .22 round could have done that, Cenk.
What happened was they sued, they lost, because the gun manufacturers have, and the gun sellers have immunity. And then they said, okay, because of Colorado's laws, which by the way is super disputable.
Disputable? Nah, that seems pretty concrete to me. I don't know about you.
But they don't have that much money. They're just an innocent family whose daughter got killed. Go to court and contest the case.
Oh, they contested the case and contested that the PLCAA was even unconstitutional. They failed.
Yeah.
This says, no, I got immunity, I can do whatever the hell I want.
It says no such thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we get so outraged at diplomatic immunity, but we've created, by the way, not for any other manufacturer. The only people who have immunity, the only industry in this country, is a special class, the guns.
They actually all have some liability protection. It's just written out in the law for gun manufacturers and sellers because they're the most likely to be sued, as we've seen here.
So I like that Hillary Clinton has taken this issue. It's an important issue, and I like that she's pushing for it aggressively. I think that she's being sincere in feeling passionately about this, and it's a great thing. There's also a huge political component to this, because one of her competitors, of course, in this election is Bernie Sanders. And there's one issue where Bernie Sanders, to be quite honest, is a little sketchy and issue of gun control.
No, he's actually been pretty consistent and more centrist on this than Hillary Clinton.
So, years ago, decades ago, I should say, he voted against legislation that would roll back legal immunity for the gun manufacturers and sellers, for those in the gun industry.
Look, I was representing Vermont, which is very rural. People like their guns there, and that's I represent that, right? Now, since then, after the Newtown massacre, he flipped a couple of these positions. And in the middle of this campaign, he said, okay, let's do federal background checks. Let's take away immunity.
Well, I'm sure that was a while ago, right? Like a few years. Oh. July 9th. Never mind.
But I think, to be fair to Hillary Clinton, and I agree with Bernie Sanders a lot more than I agree with Hillary Clinton overall, just to give you my perspective on and context on this, okay? But in this case, Hillary Clinton has been fighting for gun control for a long, long time. It's not just for political gain that she's doing this. She said, look, it was under Bill Clinton where we banned automatic weapons, right? And so she said, assault weapons, I'm sorry, I should say assault weapons. She said, we fought them in the 90s, we're going to fight them again. We beat them in the 90s, we're going to beat them again. And she's very adamant in saying, I'm going to go after the NRA. I'm not going to be afraid of them, okay? We need a people's movement in this country to oppose the NRA and the politicians that they've bought, okay? That's a lot of strong talk. She's been right on this issue for a long time, and I like that kind of strong talk. Because when Hillary's strong, she's super strong.
That's absolutely true. And maybe, look, I don't think that her primary reason for doing this is for political reasons. Again, I think that she's genuinely passionate about it and she wants to be aggressive. But at the same time, there's that added benefit and that added bonus of calling Bernie Sanders out on this issue.
And that's fair, and he should be called out.
Right. These small-time guys might help Hillary Clinton with her position, right?